And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports, the place where we talk about your Bolts, your Rays, your Rowdies, and your Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. With me on this wonderful evening are three fine, upstanding young gentlemen. Let me introduce you to Chris. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. I'm actually sitting here watching the Lightning play the Red Wings right now as we record on this Thursday night. So all is well over here and ready to talk some Lightning hockey.
Attaboy. Musab, how are you, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. It's another beautiful week here in Tampa Bay. I'm excited to talk sports with you all as always. And yeah, that's really about it. What about you?
Let's do it, man. I'm doing all right. Just trying to walk around the neighborhood without coughing up a lung and sneezing my brains out. And on that note, I'll bring in Mikey. Mikey, how are you surviving the pollen today?
I'm fighting the good fight, man. I think today pollen won, but we here, man. I'm excited to talk football, talk Bucs, and excited to be on this podcast with you guys. So let's get it going.
There we go. Well, with that said, my name is Eureka, and as always, we like to break down your favorite, my favorite, our favorite teams. Let's start with the Bucs. Let's talk about our Super Bowl champions. So last week we went through the defense, and I wanted to do the same thing with the offense. Now let's go through position group by position, and we'll talk about where we see them as they are right now going forward into 2021, and kind of break down if everything's going to be all right to run it back for another championship, or where the question marks are. So let's knock this right out of the box. Let's talk quarterback room. You've got Tom Brady, and then after that you've got got free agents. So there's some question marks there. Mikey, I'll start with you, man. Top performers, obviously the GOAT, but how do you see Tom Brady going into 2022?
I'm excited, man. First off, having the GOAT, you always got to go into a season optimistic and excited. Just coming off of a Super Bowl, just coming off of maybe the best season a Tampa Bay quarterback has ever had for this franchise. So off of 2020 season, man, I am excited. He's a 43-year-old quarterback. Just had a minor knee procedure done. So there's always room there to be a little bit cautious, and but I think it's going to be a great season, man. I think for the quarterback room, what we really need is good depth there, just in case anything does go wrong, or he needs to take a few weeks off, or something were to happen. I think it's important for us to start looking for a quality veteran backup if the free agents are gone. But it's Tom Brady, man. Who else would you want to have playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the GOAT? Talking about extending him for another 3 years, possibly, reworking his contract. So, with that being said, he must be in good spirits. He must be feeling healthy and ready to go for the 2021 season. If I had to give it a grade going into the 2021, coming off of a Super Bowl year like we just had, I'd probably have to give it an A minus, just because again he's 43, just coming off of minor procedures, nothing too serious. But I'd give it an A minus instead of the usual A plus I would typically give the GOAT.
Yeah, Musab, how do you feel about the quarterback room coming into this next year?
Well, I do have some similar thoughts to Mikey, in that, if a time comes, or when there is the time that Tom Brady sits out and someone's got to step in, we definitely need a trustworthy quarterback, is if anything. Now Mikey said like a veteran style quarterback. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even mind a young guy. I really wouldn't. As long as he's got some spark in him that that we can kind of take advantage of, and we can make him the next star right behind Brady. That's what I'm hoping for. But as of right now, the circumstances currently at the moment look a little different. I kind of have some indifferent feelings towards our backups at the moment, just because I haven't seen that much action. well, I didn't see any action from Ryan Griffin, and then barely any from Blaine Gabbert. So for that reason, I mean, I'm feeling a little indifferent. But now on to the Tom Brady. Um, I would give him an A minus, but honestly, the way I'm thinking about it is, old guy Tom Brady's in the house. All right, he just won a Super Bowl with his brand new team. Roster at the moment is looking still pretty hot. So for that reason, you know, whether it be this past season or this upcoming season, Tom Brady's gonna continue to have haters, but I think he's gonna prove them wrong. Thankfully, as Mikey said, the knee surgeries, aren't a huge issue, and I am very, very, very optimistic this season for Tom Brady. I think he's gonna be coming out better than ever. I don't think age is going to be affecting him at all anytime soon. So for that reason, I am giving him an A plus.
Yeah, so the big question is, like, how would you guys feel if they did just bring back Blaine Gabbert or Ryan Griffin? Mikey, start with you.
I mean, I'd be cool with that. Like Musab said, we haven't seen too much action from them. The little bit that we saw from Blaine Gabbert, I'd kind of use I'm indifferent about it as well, to be honest. Shit, if we're gonna have a backup, man, bring back Fitz Magic or something like that. Someone exciting, that is gonna give a heck of a spark. If they were to bring back either of those guys, I think Blaine Griffin is Blaine Gabbert. I'm sorry. I think he's a quality backup, and I think he can do the job if necessary. And in a short term role, you know what I mean. I wouldn't trust him with the franchise. I wouldn't see him as a long term solution. But for a short term, a game or two games, I'd be fine with that for sure.
Yeah, and Musab, you talked about, maybe you'd be open to even bringing in some of the youth. It's one of those things where it'd have to be kind of maybe the right guy in the draft. I mean, obviously, I think you wouldn't be drafting a guy you think is the franchise, but it would be one way to cut a little bit of costs. I mean, Blaine Gabbert only cost less than $1 million, and Ryan Griffin actually was about $1.7 million last year, which in the quarterback world is chump change. I mean, that's very, very low. Depending on where you draft a guy, if it's in the later rounds, things like that, it'll be even cheaper than that as this team kind of thinks about every dollar and every penny that it needs. But how would you feel about if the Bucs kind of scrapped the veterans and they did hand over the keys in an emergency to an undrafted or an unproven rookie?
How would I feel? I
Yeah,
would feel. I would feel nothing at the start. But I mean, once that that undrafted rookie or that undrafted young guy starts getting some more action, yeah, I might feel good or bad depending on how he's playing. But
sure.
the thing is, if this guy seems like he may stay on the team for at least another year or so, I'm gonna have a little more positive kind of thoughts on him. Hopefully, thinking, all right, well, especially with the circumstances as they are right now, if he's playing behind someone like Brady, I mean, the guy's gonna be learning so much. You could throw me in behind Brady, and I guarantee you I would improve a lot. If you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, man.
so for that reason, yeah, if we were to get a young guy, some undrafted, unknown kind of guy, I wouldn't be mad about it. I would just be like, all right, well, hopefully, they used their money right. Obviously, they didn't just kind of drop a bunch. Probably just some kind of chunk money. And Eureka, when you bring up this chunk money, I just want to say that it's up to Blaine Gabbert and Ryan Griffin to really prove themselves that they're not worthy of just chunk money.
Yeah.
But right now, the way I see it is, well, I didn't see Ryan Griffin play, so I guess he gets the chunk money. And Blaine Gabbert, yeah, the way I see his performance was kind of just like, yeah, man, you stepped in when either we needed you or when we
Blowing people out.
really didn't need you, but because we were kind of losing by a lot, aka the Saints game, let's just throw you in, just I don't know, let's get over
Yeah.
with it or
Yeah.
something. But the only thing I really want from a quarterback is if we're up by a few points and Tom Brady gets hurt, that we can be like, all right, you know what? Yes, we're only up by a few points, but yes, I trust our backup that he can kind of make sure we don't screw up this game. And honestly, hey, maybe it would be nice if this backup could get a touchdown as well for us. So, we get a bigger lead, Just something, hey, our backups need to be proven something. Basically, all I'm really saying at the end of the day is, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these Buck fans can say is, we haven't seen anything from these backups. So for that reason, someone like me, I can't really say much. I can't really have too much optimistic nor pessimistic feelings. It's just something like, all right, well, when the time comes, I guess when the time came from Tom Brady, I mean, Blaine Gabbert did a an okay job is what I would say. But yeah, I mean that's really about it. If whether it be Blaine Gabbert, Ryan Griffin, or any other guy behind Tom Brady, I'm gonna be optimistic at the start and see from there how he plays.
Yeah, I was bringing it up to say, like, wouldn't it be crazy if, like, the last thing Tom Brady does is bring along another 7th round, 6th round guy, and show him the ropes, and it's kind of like a full circle thing.
That'd be pretty
Well, and the reason I say that is because as you're Tom Brady's he's the Ferrari, but he's also the engine of the Ferrari, and so if he goes down, this team might look a lot different, but there's still a lot of optimism because now let's talk about the next position group we're going to get into, and that's running back, and I think there's still some question marks on how this room is going to look. Mikey, who would you say is your top performer in the running back group?
So this is an intriguing group right here, the running back group. My top performer, although playoff Lenny had a tremendous playoff run, my top performer for the season is Rojo. Um, his first year as a rookie, he didn't perform like many fans, and I'm sure Jason Light expected him to play. But he slowly has gained traction and it has become a very strong and good runner. Should have got 1,000 yards this year. Got 1,000 yards from scrimmage, that's enough. But should have got 1,000 yards running. Um, you know, pretty certain Leonard Fournette is going to be on another team next year, and going into 2021, it's a contract year for Ronald Jones, and that's usually when guys really show up because they know they're not going to get paid chump change anymore if they perform the way they should. So going into 2021, man, I have big hopes for Rojo. I think he should be the lead back. I think they should develop Vaughn, and I think they should bring in a veteran presence. And I've said this in the past, and I'll say it again just because I'm a huge fan. They should bring in someone like Adrian Peterson, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my eyes, and maybe the best I've ever seen as a veteran presence, kind of like what they did with McCoy, and as an insurance policy and as an extra body there. I think that'd be awesome for the running back room. I think that'd be awesome for Ronald Jones, and for Vaughn to see a player of that caliber work in the weight room and show up every day and go out there and prove himself.
Yeah, Musab, my question would be off of that would be, if you're handing a lot more responsibility to Keshawn Vaughn, and you're really shouldering the entire load on Ronald Jones, are you confident with that, or is there another, maybe a bigger piece they should bring in?
I am somewhat confident with that. From what I've seen with Keyshawn Vaughn, I think that he fits well in the backup role, where he's had some really good runs when he's had his attempts. But I think there is, you know, a Super Bowl team. This kind of being a little exception this year, but an ideal Super Bowl team always has kind of like two really solid stern backs, and then kind of this third back, which hey, we can use him for certain situations, or hey, we might have kind of like the Scotty Miller of running backs is kind of what I'm saying. If you're, if you kind of, if you get me.
Good analogy.
Yeah, something like that basically is kind of something that I'm really looking for.
Who would you say is the top performer in the running back room, Musab?
Oh, I would say, I mean, Ronald Jones, although I was kind of, lost in the playoff Lenny daydream. At the end of the day, Ronald Jones, I mean, he really, I mean, he did a great job this season, especially coming from where he started. The stats from back then and now, I mean, are just, it's in a huge difference. And like, as Mikey was saying, it looks like Leonard Fournette. I don't know if his time is ending here or not, but I'm not too hopeful that it's or yeah. The way I'm looking at it right now, I'm not too hopeful that his time will continue here in Tampa Bay. So for that reason, the keys have always been with Ronald Jones, playoff Lenny. He
It was
borrowed him
nice
for
while
a
it
bit,
lasted.
Yeah, he borrowed him for a bit during the
Sure.
playoffs. But Ronald Jones is like, hey man, if you're gonna head out, I'm gonna need them keys back. I'm gonna need them spare keys back. I mean, I still have the main keys, but you borrowed the spare. I'm gonna need the spare back. I'm gonna give it to my buddy Keyshawn or maybe some other guy. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Leonard Fournette making $2.5 million last year. There's no way I think this team would bring him back at that rate. I mean, you definitely hoping you can find, like Mikey's saying, maybe a guy that should get a lot more money because of their acclaim, but they're taking the discount for the ring, and a chance to get a ship on the pirate ship. Um, so outside of the running backs, the other position that we'll get into now is wide receiver. And I mean, how many number one wide receivers did this team have this year? I mean, it was crazy because as good as they all are individually, everyone kind of like took a hit statistically so that everyone got a piece of the pie because Brady's gonna throw it to whoever's open, regardless of your contract, regardless of whatever. So whether you're Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, or Scotty Miller, or Tyler Johnson, you're gonna get the rock if you're in the right position. Musab, I'll start with you, man. Who was your top performer in the wide receiver room?
For the receiver room, my top performer was I'm gonna have to say Mike Evans. He just
Okay.
he did an unbelievable job. Especially when we really needed him, especially for those games when we really needed him, whether to get touchdowns or yards. He always was there. He was very trustworthy. And while I have to say that this season compared to the last one wasn't as good as the last one, in my opinion, I still think he did a phenomenal job, and I think also the role kind of changed a little bit, with us kind of signing some new guys or some other guys really to our team. So I think the role changed a little bit. That hey, we got someone like Gronk now, Antonio Brown. We got someone like Scotty Miller, who has some really good opportunities to do something. So for that reason, I mean that's why I think maybe the overall kind of performance wasn't as good as last season. But regardless of that, I mean he still did a phenomenal job. He was making some really really big plays, way more than the other guys. And at the end of the day, when when we really needed someone to catch the ball, and we really needed to get those yards, my eyes were on Mike Evans to do something. So that's why I'm gonna say Mike Evans.
Yeah, Mikey, I'll turn it to you. Who's kind of your big performer in that wide receiver room?
It has to be Mike Evans, Mr. 1,000 yards, Mr. First Down. I mean, first player in NFL history with 7 consecutive 1,000 yard seasons. He had the most touchdowns of his career this year with 13. Mike Evans is reliable, man. Big fan, great route runner, big body, makes huge catches. Does a nice toe drag. I mean, came with a change of attitude that I've seen that I noticed this year. He was focused. He wasn't complaining about holding passes or holding plays as much. I mean, just came to ball out this year. I contribute a lot of that to the presence of the GOAT Tom Brady. Like you said, to begin this group, we had three number one wide receivers in that group, right? I mean, you got Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, and you have Antonio Brown. All three of those guys can be number one receivers on any other team. So this is a very fascinating group, very talented group, dynamic group, and we're bringing Chris Godwin back, and hopefully we could bring Antonio Brown back on a team-friendly deal as well. I don't even think he made a milli last year off base salary. Um, so if we can get him, for another discount for 1 million or 2 million next year, I would pay that for Antonio Brown to be on the squad as well. But if I had a grade one, man, Mr. 1,000 yards, Mike Evans is my number one guy.
Yeah, Musab, Mikey brings up a good point about Chris Godwin, who's recently franchise tagged by the Buccaneers. What impact do you think that franchise tag is for Chris Godwin and now maybe the Buccaneers' flexibility in the cap room?
Well, with the first thing, I think it's just more that we're deciding that we're. I guess what they're kind of saying to Godwin, what the Bucs organization is saying to Chris Godwin is, hey, listen, you're our guy. Basically, it's kind of I'm sure you guys all know that's kind of what the franchise tag saying is that, hey, you're our guy. This is what we're gonna be doing with you. So it's kind of it comes with some good things and some bad things. Good things just being that you have this kind of I don't think the whole attention is centered around you, but there's definitely a big part of it centered around you. And then I guess maybe perhaps the downside I could see it as is maybe just having kind of that pressure, expectations. Hey, was it really? Because if this guy doesn't start performing like he is right now, then you're gonna start seeing things in the article like, oh, is Chris Godwin, was he really worth the franchise tag, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just something that what comes with it. But I think it was definitely worth the choice, and I think it's gonna be a good choice. The best part about our wide receiver unit is that it's so young. So I mean, we got a really bright future. If we're already winning Super Bowls with a young squad like this, I can imagine what we're gonna be doing in the future.
Yeah, and I would say too, Chris Godwin. It sounds bad when he goes from making $3 million last year to close to $16 million with the franchise tag. But if you look at his value, he probably would have got at least 17 million to start in an extension or a long-term deal down the road. So there's still opportunity for the Bucs to. Yeah, go ahead.
Where does that fall? So the franchise tag at what, at 16 million? That's kind of like the average of the top five performers.
That's correct.
Right?
It's like the top. I think it might even be the top 3, but it might be the top 5 off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's an average between the top 5 moneymakers, and so he would sit somewhere.
I think that's fair for Chris Godwin. I mean he's an amazing talent,
Right.
Good player. Last year he had 1,300 yards, something like that. Before that he had around 800, 500 yards. Great after the catch. I think the franchise tag is perfect in this situation because I think you could fall into that trap and overpay for someone like Chris Godwin at this moment. You know what I mean? Like he's not putting up Mike Evans type numbers or the top 5 receiver type numbers. And don't get it twisted. I'm a huge Chris Godwin fan. Love his ability to make yards after the catch. He's a great presence, great hands. He's a secure catch. But I'm very happy with the franchise tag and that we didn't overshoot it and overpay when we have someone like Mike Evans on the field.
Right,
as well,
that's what I'm saying. Is like if they had to get into a bidding war with other teams to keep him on the team, we would have had to let him go. Yeah, and part of that is because you do have to fill in the roster everywhere. Now, the wide receiver room, there is a lot of young talent that's there, and possibly they'll have to replace Antonio Brown with a cheaper, younger option. But there's there's another group of they're the tight ends. They're kind of receivers, but they're also blocking. They're kind of in the middle between, you get a diverse skill set between what a guy like Rob Gronkowski brought to the table and what a guy like Cameron Brate or O.J. Howard bring to the table. So let's transition to that. Let's go to tight end now. Musab, I'll ask you first. How do you feel about the tight ends? How would you grade the tight end room as we sit right here?
You saying like grade the whole tight end unit?
Yeah, I would say like how confident are you in the tight end? Like there's a big question mark. Are they going to bring back Gronkowski? And so if they do, and if they don't, how do you feel about this group?
Well, I'm confident they'll bring back Gronkowski. But overall grade, I think I would just give it a B.
Okay.
The only reason I don't give them an A is because I don't think they're anything super spectacular or standing out that it's like, oh wow, like if I'm the other team, I'm not thinking, oh snap, like this tight end group is a threat, or these two guys, these two tight ends are a threat. Um, I mean, not that I'm saying that Rob Gronkowski or Cameron Braid are bad. It's just that their role is just not enough to really kind of put a dent in the whole kind of thing. Um, other than certain performances and stuff like that. I mean, like that Super Bowl performance by Rob Gronkowski. I mean, you don't see that often. That was as a special moment. We didn't see something like that in the season, unfortunately. Um, but then again, they still performed really well. But I would still have to just give it a B. I just think that they weren't just something that was kind of really standing out and helping us kind of win. Is what I'm saying. It was nice. They were helpful. They got us the yards we needed. Sometimes they got us the touchdowns, which was nice. But it wasn't like, oh snap, this is we really need them, or thank God we had them. So that's why I give them a B.
All right. I mean, Rob had an amazing Super Bowl. Obviously, kind of under the radar, kind of using those blocking skills and decoy skills for a while until they were really able to connect for a couple touchdowns in the Super Bowl. So Mikey, I'll ask you. Do you think they'll bring back? Does Rob Gronkowski come back after winning another championship?
Oh, he definitely comes back.
Okay.
He wants to play with Tom Brady. He wants to be in Tampa Bay, in the sun. He wants another boat parade. He's coming back for
Do
sure.
you think he takes a pay
Um,
cut?
yeah, I think he might take a pay cut with maybe a bigger signing bonus or some incentives in there worked in. I think they'll find a way to make that work. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think he'll be team friendly. Um, and incentivized. I usually agree with Musab on a majority of his points, man, but I got to go with the A for the tight end group.
Okay.
And you kind of hit it on the button. Rob Gronkowski was an undercover weapon. When he wasn't being used in passing, he was blocking, and he was blocking very well, opening up lanes for Rojo, for Leonard Fournette, and it's to me it's a position group that's kind of similar to the wide receivers. We have three guys there that could be number one tight ends on other teams. We have Rob Gronkowski, arguably the greatest tight end in NFL history. You have OJ Howard, who has kind of underperformed compared to where he was drafted, injured a lot. But the talent, the raw talent is there. And when he is on the field, he is a major weapon. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see a lot of that um, this year, but it looks like he's going to be healthy. And then we have Cameron Brate, who I think doesn't get enough credit for what he brings to the team. Um, to me, this is an A+ group. Um, and when you have receivers like what we have, you don't need them to go out there and score touchdowns every game. You need them to kind of play their role, and if that's blocking that game for whatever that scheme is, I think they can do that. But when it's time to show up, like they did for the Super Bowl, they've clearly showed that they could do that well. So I'm gonna go with the A for the tight end group on this
How
one.
confident are you if they don't bring back Gronkowski in and OJ Howard, Cameron Brate?
All right. So which one are we losing? Are we losing
Uh,
Gronk?
y-
If we lose Gronk,
yeah.
I bring it down to like I had to bring it down to like a B
Mm,
minus if we lose
yeah.
Gronk. If we lose OJ and we keep Gronk and Brady, I'm still at an A. Um, I mean, I think that's how good they are. And another season with the team. I think Gronk is going to be even better than he was last year. He was looking fresh towards the end of the year. Got his legs back, was running good routes, was blocking well. Brake caught the pass from Brady on the boat to catch the Lombardi Trophy. I mean, these guys are ready, man. They're locked in. So I'm confident in this group.
Awesome, man. And we'll talk about our final group here, and that is the offensive
Yeah.
line. Musab, tell me about your feelings on the Buccaneers offensive line for next year.
Ooh, that is a good question. I'm feeling really kind of optimistic. I thought the
Okay.
offensive line was really really good this year. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I think they definitely were a contributing factor to our Super Bowl win. We got guys like Marpet, Jensen, Wirfs, Donovan Smith, Kappa, even Stenny, Jensen, AQ Shipley's kind of stepping up as well. I mean, all those guys are great. Hopefully, we keep them all. You know, I believe not all of them are, you know, well, I believe at least one of them has got to be a free agent, or maybe two of them.
It's mostly the starting units altogether. Just things like Joe Haig, AQ Shipley, and Josh Wells are the ones that are free agents right now.
Okay. Well, then I mean, yeah. The way I see it is, I'm hoping we keep them all. They were good backups to help us win. Our Super Bowl. Whenever they did step up, they did a solid job, and I was satisfied with their performance. Especially what do you call AQ Shipley and Joe Haig. That was really nice to watch. Wish Joe Haig caught that
Yeah.
pass. Wish he just held on to it longer. But it's all good. It's all good. We still won, so it's all good. But I mean, I'm feeling really good. To grade him, I would give him an A for sure.
Yeah.
Just because I mean they first of all they also did exactly what I was praying they would do, which was protect our guy Tom Brady, who just because I mean he's a little old, and some of these guys on the defense, our opponents, I mean they are some big mad mean dogs, and if they get to Brady, I'm sure they would want to just wreck him,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for that reason, I mean, our guys did a great job. I mean, obviously, yes, he did get sacked, but nothing too crucial and nothing too damaging. Um, but overall, though, I mean, the guys, I mean, did amazing. Protecting the pass, or the rush defense. So for that reason, I give him an A plus. I'm hopeful and praying that even our free agents stay with us. I love them all. So yeah.
Mikey, who is your top performer in that offensive room?
Top performer got to be my center. Ryan Jensen is my top performer, and easily
Okay.
can go with the rookie.
Okay.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
allowed one sack all season. He played amazing. Can't take anything away from him. Donovan Smith, a punching bag to a lot of Buccaneer fans for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of plays
Yeah.
off, is a little bit inconsistent, has a
Yep.
lot of potential, but never seems to play fully to it. He had a tremendous year as well. I like tone
Yep.
setters. I like bullies that go out there and dominate and show the other guys how they're supposed to play. And to me, Ryan Jensen is that guy, man. He plays
Mm.
when the ball snapped through the whistle. You always see him pushing defensive guys off of his guys. You always see him, in defenders' faces, pushing and shoving and just setting that tone that we're gonna dominate. We're gonna protect our guy. We're gonna get yards. And I love that shit, man. So Ryan Jensen, he gets me excited. And it's weird that an offensive lineman will get somebody excited in football, but when you watch him play, man, that's how it's supposed to be done. So Ryan Jensen gets an A plus. And I'm with Musab on this one, man. Offensive line did awesome this year. Number one job was protect the old man, and they did it well.
Yep.
So A plus for the offensive line.
Yeah, and I mean, considering their running back, the offensive line again, just maybe shoring up the back end. Um, I think we'll talk about it a little bit later about exactly maybe who we want to see brought in, but I'm pretty confident with the. I mean, they an amazing job this year. They had a ton of pressure. I mean, I could only imagine as soon as it gets announced that Tom Brady's coming to Tampa, all eyes are on that offensive line and
yeah.
basically like, can you keep him upright? And like I said, that's the difference between winning and losing. You need a quarterback, and you got to keep that guy upright. So, but Mikey, you said something really nice about setting a tone and playing physical. And I guess the last thing I'll ask you guys about is we already talked about the franchise tag being put on Chris Godwin. Switching to the other side of the ball for a second, another huge re-signing, and that is Levante David. Musab, man, how are you excited about the fact we're bringing back Levante David, or is this a bad move?
Oh, I think this is a great move for
Yeah.
sure. Just him working again with Devin White and the rest of the guys. He is a natural leader, and the fact that he's staying with us, continuing to coach our young guys, work again, as I just said, work with Devin White and our secondaries as well. It's just really nice to have kind of a. Now I know obviously I wouldn't call him someone like an old head, but just someone who I would say is kind of a vet. Who knows what he needs to do. He is a captain. He is a leader, and the fact that we got him back, it is great. So I am very thankful, and I am very optimistic about him in the future for the Bucs.
Solid, man. Well, guys, this has been fun going through now the defense last week, and now we've kind of talked about and set the framework for some of these questions that we're going to have going forward on the offensive side of the ball. I guess, this might not take too long. The one other free agent, I guess, that we haven't talked about is kicker Ryan Suckup.
That's an
Mikey,
important one, man.
Mikey, how important has probably the most successful kicker we've seen in a long time? Should they bring back Ryan Suckup?
I think they should, man. I mean, next to Tom Brady, I think Ryan Suckup was the biggest signing we had this offseason, man. The kicking position has cursed us for years. Ask Jameis, man. His career got all types of thrown sideways. Partly because of himself, but I mean, we were missing kicks, very crucial kicks at very critical moments for the last 4 or 5 years. So I would love to see Ryan Suckup come back if there's another option out there, younger. More accurate, that becomes a free agent that we can get as well. I wouldn't be opposed to that either. We just got to make sure that we have someone good back there kicking.
Yeah, exactly. Musab, any final thoughts about the place kicker?
Yes. First thing is I think that Ryan Suckup was just absolutely amazing. I think out of his whole career, I think this was one of his best seasons for sure. And I would love for him to come back. But then again, as kind of Mikey was saying, if we get a young guy who can also kick like him, I would love that too. The thing is with any team and with any of these great guys that we have who are kind of getting a little bit old, like Tom Brady or Ryan Suckup, anyone really, or any guy who's gonna leave is these new guys that we're getting is, at one point. And I hate to be kind of like the devil's advocate, but at one point our team is not gonna be some super hot, undefeated, Super Bowl worthy team. Things are gonna happen at one point. No team is perfect. There's no way that some team is just gonna go hot and running for like 10 years in a row. So for that reason, what I mean to say is then. That's when those times comes for these young guys, whether they're on our team now or whether when they're gonna be on our team in the future. That's when the time comes for them to just really step it up. I don't know exactly what they need to be doing, but they need to find out, and they need to help us, because when the time comes that we are a championship worthy team, we need everyone to be just playing their cards right.
Absolutely, man. Well, guys, Musab, Mikey, thanks for running us through the Bucs this week. A lot to get into as we start thinking about the nuts and the bolts of free agency and draft breakdown. There's a lot to get into over the next couple months. So this has been exciting, and I look forward to talking a lot more Bucs with you guys. Let's take a break, and when we come back, our guy Chris is going to go get us all through the Lightnings last week, and then I have a couple things to say about our boys of summer. So we'll get into that after the break. Welcome back into RBLR Sports. All right, let's change the mode here. Let's go inside the rink with our guy, Chris. Man, it's another exciting week. The Lightning are ranked probably, number 1 across the board in everybody's rankings. Like they just keep kicking butt, man. Chris, what is going on with our Bolts right now?
Yeah, I mean, really between us and Toronto, I think it was the first time that power rankings had been locked in at two teams in first, which was Toronto and us. I guess it was, kind of hard for them to sit there and pick one who was better than the other, especially since we can't even really play each other this year. So
right.
I can see the power rankings being kind of weird this year. So that's something interesting, that I haven't seen before. But yeah, I mean, been playing pretty well lately. We had that series against the Blackhawks with a couple of just wild games. That first game was an overtime. The second game was a shootout, and then that final game we just really put it on them. And I mean, going back to that first game, we won 3-2, took them to overtime. It was a very close game. Almost felt like almost like a playoff game, man. It was very, very. You could tell that the Lightning and the Blackhawks were really into it. You could tell there's no love lost there, especially going back to the year we played them in the Stanley Cup, and Killorn had a goal that game, Stamkos had a goal that game, Cirelli had a goal that game, and Vasi had 37 saves, or 35 saves, I'm sorry, on 37 shots. So, I mean, Vasi still, he finally, we talked about last week, what if we come back and he still hasn't allowed a goal yet. So, unfortunately, that streak's over, but it was a good one while it lasted. I remember you making that comment last week. It was kind of funny, like, man, what if that really did happen? That would be wild, But he's still playing good. And then, we had that shootout loss to them, but shootouts can be tough. Like I said, I'll take a point when I can get one. So I was okay with that. And Cirelli had another goal that game. Killorn had another goal that game. McDonough finally got on the scoreboard that game, which is good to see him getting in there and getting a goal here and there. I'd like to see some offense from him. He's a good two-way defenseman. He has that offensive side of him. Haven't really seen much of it this year, so it's just good to see him get on the scoreboard in that game, even though it was a loss. Just try to look at a little bit of positives here and there, and even if you lose, just try to look at who maybe stood out in a losing game. So. And then we had that 6-3 pretty much just domination against Chicago. Gord had 2 goals, 2 assists. He played really, really well that game. Gord's been playing really well overall. Honestly, that line's been Gord's been really, really, really good lately. Killorn had another goal that game. Palat had a goal that game. Palat's been playing really, really well. He's hot. You got Hedman finally got on the scoreboard that game. The Big Rig got on the scoreboard that game. Almost everyone almost got on the scoreboard that game. We just we crushed them that game, and then we had that OT game Tuesday night against the Red Wings, which was a really, really good game. I know everyone's like, it's Detroit, but those are the kind of games where you kind of fall asleep a little bit, and you let that team kind of slip in there, and you might just get a little confident, a little cocky, we're playing Detroit, it's a free 2 points, and it's the NHL, so, no one's going to lay down, and we got the win that game there, too. So, overall, right now, we're standing atop the NHL at 18-4-2. We're pretty much tied with the Maple Leafs overall in points. Maple Leafs have 7 losses compared to our 4 losses, but the point total is still tied. So, since we last talked, we still look pretty good. Unfortunately, we have a loss here and there, but that's bound to happen. But I'll take what we have right now and keep rolling with it.
Yeah, and I would think that you start out with a very, very tight game against Chicago. And another tight game against Chicago that could have gone either way in a shootout, but then you turn around and you blow them out. That's kind of to be expected. I think that Chicago and is going to play really, really tough. But you brought up a point. Do you think that the Bolts, I mean, the Bolts are on just this, amazing run where they're not only are they winning, but they're winning by a decisive margin, right?
Right.
Coupled with the amazing offense that we're getting from everyone on the team, and then of course Vasilevsky's just sitting there, shutting the lights out of everybody. Do you think the Bolts kind of are letting their guard down against Detroit, or is Detroit kind of underrated, like we were saying Dallas seems to kind of be underrated?
No, I think Detroit's really bad.
Okay.
I mean, 7 wins on the season, 16 losses. I hate to call a team really bad because they're professional athletes and,
Sure.
and it's
Sure.
the National Hockey League. So I mean, I guess I don't want to say bad. They're just not. They're not up to par. You could say rebuilding. I put it as a rebuilding because I hate to say a team's bad unless bad to me is I guess if you got 2 or 3 wins. I mean you could say that's really bad, but. Just kind of overlooking an opponent like that, especially like I said, you're playing all the same teams this year, so everyone's probably licking their chops to play Detroit. I'm sure all the teams are looking ahead on the schedule like, oh, we got Detroit this, for the next 2-3 games. That's a free 2 points. So if you're playing Detroit for a 2-3 game series and you can steal 6 points easy right there and climb right up the standings, which right now, like I said, the top 4 teams make it in. So in our division, really, I mean, the top 4 teams have pretty much separated themselves as of right now away from the bottom 4. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Lightning are a little cocky. Actually, like I said before, I was watching the game tonight a little bit, and Cooper was getting really, really fired up at them. We were down 5-2 early, but you could see Cooper still getting mad at them. He had a good call to timeout, and you could see him yelling, and he was getting pretty fierce with them. So I mean, he takes every game serious, and you can't underestimate any team. So I think that proves a lot right there. As far as you don't want to overlook a team. You don't want to get too cocky against a team like Detroit. So yeah, I mean, it's just you can't do that. You got to go in there and play your game and don't try to just, it's a free 2 points tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I say that because you mentioned we're recording this podcast on Thursday night where they're actually playing Detroit and losing to Detroit right now at the end of the second period, 5-2. So looks like it might not work out tonight, but you never know. The Lightning were down a lot to the Detroit Red Wings the other night and, came back to win. So crazy. So I guess the next thing I'll ask is, after a tough series with Chicago, and this is a tougher than expected series with Detroit, kind of what big takeaways or what big things have we learned about the Lightning in the last week?
I think just that we're still really overall a really good solid team no matter who we've played this year. I feel like there's been no one that's. Some games I watch us play and I'm just like, man, we're a really, really good team. We have a lot of depth. Like, even if Chernak goes down, he's had a couple injuries here and there. It's like the next man up mentality. It works really, really well for the Lightning. I don't want to say I don't worry, but I don't. If I see a guy, he's not going to be in tonight because of an injury or he's going to be day to day, I don't really get too worried about it as I would as like. If you're watching a football game and one of your big players goes down, you're like, man, like that hurts. To me, the Lightning, I feel like we have that depth to where it's like, all right, we lost this guy for a couple weeks or day to day or whatever it is, and I don't really have that fear of we're gonna go, oh man, we're gonna go on a 5-game losing streak without this guy, or we're gonna lose all these games because the way our team has been playing lately as a team, I think that our depth is really there, and I think we have a lot of guys that can score from any line. I mean, line 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever you need. It's different each night. A lot of times when Cooper starts the games, his first line out there is his third line. And that's how he plays. A lot of teams. Why wouldn't you roll with your first line? Isn't that supposed to be your best line? But the way Cooper plays, sometimes he likes to get that third line out there because he wants to get chippy and he wants to, get right in your face and get the gears going, and that's what that third line does. So, just overall, I think that the team itself, we have a lot of depth, and we're doing all this without Cooch, like I say each week, and who knows where would we be right now if we had Cooch? Would we might not have lost a game yet. That's possible to say. Right, you're missing an Art Ross Trophy winner, and we're still sitting here atop the NHL. So I mean that that says a lot for our team and our depth. So yeah, just to take away from that would just be I think our depth and our team has played really well overall lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. If you go back, there's only been 2 games that have been a 1 goal or 2 goal complete game. They lost to Carolina 1-0,
Right.
and then they ended up winning against the Stars 2-0. Other than that, it's been these 5-3, 4-3, 4-0, like just wins across the board where things are just clicking on all cylinders. I just kind of begs to differ. Like, is there any part of the season so far that's been like just kind of out of the blue, just something you did not expect to happen so far?
I don't. I guess I would say, like I said, I kind of talked about it before the season started. That Stanley Cup hangover.
Okay.
I feel like I guess the Lightning really haven't had that, and I think that goes back to the depth we have in our coaching. I feel like just I don't want to say I didn't expect. I don't want to say I didn't expect us to be where we're at right now because we do have that talent and we do have the players and we are almost the same team we had last year and but obviously when you go into the season and you hear a guy like Cooch is going to be out until playoffs, that could bring a lot of teams down. But to me, the Lightning have played even better than I thought they would right now. I didn't think we'd be sitting atop the entire NHL right now, and that's not to take away anything from the team we have or anything, but like I said, sometimes when you have that you win that cup, it's really hard to bounce back. It's really hard to sit here and say you're that top team and you're the top dog, but that's what the Lightning do. They prove that each night in and out. They go out there and we're the team to beat, and it's like we know that, and we still go out there and we still playing really really good hockey. We're putting up 5-6 goals a game here and there, and that's hard to do consistently. You might do it every couple games here and there, but I mean, it's almost like you said, every other game we're scoring 5, 4, 6. Anything above 3 goals to me is a lot, especially in hockey. 4, 5, and 6, you're getting goals from all over the place at that point, And the crazy thing is no one's even had a hat trick this year, so the love is definitely being spread around. Stamkos is leading the team right now with 11 goals, which is great. It's great for him. He's having a great rebound year. Palat's having a fantastic year. He was someone I talked about in when you were talking about players that I think we're going to have a really good year. I think Palat's totally continued that from the playoffs. I think in my opinion, I think Palat's the most underrated player on the team, and I've thought that for a couple years just because I know his skill set's there. I've seen him skate. I've seen him play. I've seen what he can do, even 2-on-1. Like, man, he can fake you out. He can deke you. He can get around you. He's got really good hands. He can get in front of the net if he needs to. He can snipe. Palat's really, really, really underrated. So I think it's good now that I think he's being talked about a lot more. I know in fantasy hockey too. He was one of the top wingers taken. I know that this year as far as drafting in fantasy hockey goes. I know a lot of people don't play fantasy hockey, but I looked into it a little bit. But you got Gord with 8 goals. Pointer has 8 goals. Cirelli has 7 goals, and Cirelli missed a couple games. So I mean, overall, the team is just performing at a high level. The love is definitely being spread around. So I mean, I don't want to. I guess I'm just surprised at how well we're actually playing. If that makes sense,
Sure. Yeah, pleasantly surprised. I mean, you gotta think like you said, as good as they've been, and they've only lost six total games, 2 of those in overtime. Considering all that, there's still only 1 point in the standings, in the lead at the top. They're a couple points away from being 4th in the division, and they're just going crazy. I mean, it's insane to think about how good Carolina's doing, how good the Panthers are doing. Kind of coming out of nowhere. I mean, Carolina, we I think we all thought was going to be decent,
hanging around that 2 spot, that 2 competing.
I think we all also kind of looked at Florida as someone who could be kind of in the middle of the pack, but you're looking at those playoff spots. It's Tampa, Carolina, Florida, Chicago, with a little bit of separation from the rest of the pack there. So. But within those packs, I mean, Chicago is still only 7 points total away from us at the top.
which is a 3-game win streak, and then a point in overtime, so that's nothing in hockey. You're like you said, you're looking at Carolina right now, who's won 6 straight games. Yeah. So I mean, that's 12 points Carolina's recorded in their past 6 games, which is great. I mean, that's huge. Like I said, any point counts right now. So yeah, anything's possible.
Well, and that's why I look at this Detroit series and I'm like, it's going to come down to who beats up on the Detroits and the Nashvilles and the Columbuses of our division, until Dallas gets their bearings. That they're still at that bottom level, but I think we kind of expect them to come back. But really, it is if you got to collect those points against the teams that you should absolutely blow out. It makes up for those tight overtime wins and losses against the Blackhawks and the Carolina Hurricanes. Who would you say were your standouts? You could do 3 stars or whatever, but I kind of who's standing out above the rest from last week?
I have to go. Probably number 1 right now would be Gord. I think Gord's played really, really well overall. I think he's got 4 goals and 4 assists over his past, I want to say 6 games, I believe it is. And it's not even that. It's just his overall play on the ice. He's third. He's third on our team in goals. So that says a lot too. Like I said, 8 goals for Gord. That's huge for him. He's 7 assists. He's just played really well, man. He's played really, really chippy hockey. He hustles every single play. He's always creating havoc in the forecheck. He's always down there grinding. He doesn't take a shift off. He's not afraid of anybody, and that's what I love. He'll get in anyone's face. Doesn't care how big you are. Doesn't care what you're gonna say. He doesn't care if you're gonna hit him. He's got his mitts going in your face, and you're putting the defender's putting the mitts in his face, and they're rubbing each other on the face, and he doesn't care. He doesn't back down, and which is great because that's what the Lightning were missing a couple years ago. We were really missing that grit and that toughness where teams were just not worried about us being tough, and they thought they could just kind of body us around. And I think Gord's brought a lot to the team as far as that goes, and I think Gord's really stepped up a lot. So he's definitely got to be my number 1 as of the last time we spoke about
he almost had a hat trick against Chicago.
He did. He played really well that game, man. I was pulling for it. I wanted him to get it, So I think overall, right now I would say he's probably been my number 1, my number 1 star overall over these past couple games.
Who else you got?
I don't know if anyone's really, really standing out as much as Gord was, but I think overall, I think just so far, I think Stamkos has played at a really high level for what he's gone through, what he's battled mentally, physically, all of his injuries. With Cooch being out, we knew we needed that leader, and Stamkos has really stepped up, leading the team in goals. He's out there on the power play doing great things. He rarely misses from that slot spot. You leave him open, he's gonna slam it over you. He's gonna hit you with a slap shot from a mile away, 99 miles an hour, coming zooming over your head. So he's really stepped up. He's really, really played well. I think his leadership role is huge for this team, because as good of a player as Cooch is, I don't think Cooch is that leader that Stamkos can be. I think we've seen Cooch get frustrated at points where it's kind of childish. I don't like to use that word a lot, but we've seen Cooch where he's committed dumb penalties when he's been frustrated, or kind of you can see it in his face, like in his body and his motions. And to me, Stamkos, I've never really got that from him. I don't think all the injuries, everything he's been through, all the people saying he's this and that, and he's not living up to this and that, and he's gonna get hurt this year. And I think just overall, I'm just really happy for Stamkos, and I'm glad to see him leading the team in goals right now and just playing at a really high level.
Yeah. Now, coming up next week, we've got after this game tonight against Detroit, which is still going on, just third period just started. We also have Nashville and Dallas. Take us through what you expect to see from the Bolts next week.
Honestly, I hate to say it, but that's probably that should be 6 points. That should be 3 wins. Those are like we talked about. Those are the bottom teams. We're finally gonna have fans in the arena on Saturday, 3,800, I believe. Yep. So they're finally gonna raise the banner, which Now, I get it. I don't think it's the right call, but I think it has to happen if that makes sense. I think it should be in front of a sold out crowd, but do we know when that sold out crowd's going to be? Yeah. Do we think it's going to be this year? Probably not. Probably right. You're probably right. You're with me. Probably not right. So I would think even if we go into next season, let's say the season starts on time, and then maybe you're looking at a full crowd, October-ish, November-ish, depending on when the season gets started, as long as there's no more delays, God forbid. But I think waiting to raise the banner for that would have been really nice, but I think they made the right call as far as having to do it, because how much longer can you really put it off, So that's one thing where I'm like, I'm like iffy on it, but I'm glad we're gonna have fans. To me that's the most important right now. That's a sign in the right direction. I want to go to a game really bad. Obviously, I'm not gonna be going anytime soon because I'm not gonna be paying the prices to go sit up top, which are through the roof. Obviously, and then that's part of it right now. It was the same thing with the Bucs this year. It's until we can get back to some kind of normality with fans. But I think it'll be a good momentum boost for the team, even though it's only 3,800. I think the crowd will still be wild. We'll still be ready. We'll still be loud. We'll be the Thunder for sure. I think that'll motivate the team, and I'm not really fearing Nashville right now. They're sitting at the bottom. I haven't really seen anything from them that's really scared me. They got Flip Forsberg. He's probably their best overall player. And then we got one against Dallas, right, Tuesday. And then you got the Blackhawks next Thursday, too, so that's a week away. I'm not really fearing Dallas right now. Obviously, there's still that Stanley Cup bad blood, so I'm looking for maybe some chippiness in that, maybe a fight here or there. I'm never against fights. I really enjoy the fighting, actually. And I don't mind seeing Chernak. And I was telling you earlier, I was watching the game, and Gaudreau gave Adam Ernie right to the face and took him down. So I'm all about the fighting in hockey. So hopefully, we'll see some chippiness with the Stars, and you just, like we talked about, you don't want to overlook those guys and think it's a free 6 points, because it's not. It's National Hockey League. So, but we should win, is what I'm saying. We should win with our team and our caliber of talent. We should. Hopefully, we're talking about us winning the next 3 games next week.
Musab, I'll bring you in here, man. How are you feeling about fighting in the National Hockey League?
I feel great. I love it.
I knew you would, Musab.
Watching the experience, let me tell you, for any of our listeners who think hockey is, really fun, or maybe you don't think it's fun, et cetera, on TV, well, go to a live hockey game, watch a hockey fight, and I promise you'll never want to leave the stadium or the arena, wherever you are. Man, hockey fights are the sport. It's not, in every other sport, it's like a little side thing. Basketball fights, that's more of a little side thing. Like fights don't happen like during the game. They happen maybe, when the ball goes out of bounds, someone calls a foul.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Hockey fights, those are premeditated. Those are planned. Those are like, all right, man, me and this guy,
we got beef. We got beef. Let's
from
squash
the last
it.
game. We got beef from the last season. We're longtime rivals. It reaches one point where honestly, you don't even hate the guy anymore, but it may just become a tradition.
Respect. Yeah,
it's out of respect and tradition that, hey, like, this is what we do. So we're gonna throw hands. Period. So hockey fighting is. It's honestly like its own art. It really is. It's its own form of like sport. Like it's like ice skating, MMA. Honestly, it really is. Hockey is.
You're giving Dana White too many ideas.
Dana White, if you're listening to this, give me a chance, sir. But anyways, that's really how I feel about hockey fights.
How have you felt about have you been watching the Bolts a lot this year?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've been following up with them, looking up, and following, how they're doing throughout the season. I mean, they're looking real hot. And I guess I kind of want to know from Chris, or even, you, Eureka, just what are your overall vibes with the fact, or, okay, well, here, I guess maybe I need to split this into 2 questions, and you can just answer both of them, or you can just answer one. based on how we have been playing against these teams so far this season, just because we're playing these teams over and over and over again. What do we think about that in regards to the future, but specifically, um, who are going to be our biggest threats? Because what's been happening with some of these teams is, we'll beat them like 2 out of 3 times, or maybe we'll beat them like 2 times. Then we'll play them after a while, and then they beat us. Or sometimes maybe we just beat them. Every single time we play them. That happens with these teams as well as that we play. But just overall, what are the feelings, kind of, you know, in regards to looking ahead at our opponents that we've been playing over and over again. Because what I just want to know is there's nothing new. So what's like how
Well, like the
how
Chicago series is already chippy. Like that kind of
exactly.
like I can only imagine what a 7-game series is gonna look like with these
So
guys.
that's what I was thinking was every single one of these opponents, I think by now at least a few of them have kind of developed some kind of relationship with us, as Eureka you just mentioned. Blackhawks, we got this little chippy relationship now, So with Stars, I think Lightning just walked into the lunchroom and just took the Stars lunch money and said, "It's mine now." And that's the story between the Lightning and the Stars. But anyways, I mean, I'll put the mic back on you, Chris, because I want to know what are your overall feelings.
No, I do feel like if I kind of get what you're saying, I feel like all right. So we've already played. Let's say we played Detroit 3 or 4 times. We got to play them another 4 times later on. I could see it. I could see it being a lot closer as the season kind of gets towards the end. I could see games being a lot closer because you're gonna have already played that team 4 or 5 times. So I'm hoping you have some kind of scouting report, or your coaches are doing their job, and they're watching, film, and hopefully, teams are going to have kind of a better idea of what to expect. All right, we've already played this team 5 times. We know what they're going to do, or we've already played this team 6 times. So I could see games towards the end of the season being closer, probably between the top 4 teams because they're going to be battling for those 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds. I definitely think the playoffs are going to be very interesting this year. Like I said, I still don't even know how it's going to work between Canada and us. I don't have a clue how that's going to work if we have to play a Canadian team come Stanley Cup time. So
Yeah, I think they don't see anyone outside their division until the Stanley Cup,
right, and so I don't even know how that's going to work as far as
or
the
at least
travel
the
and
the
yeah,
semifinals or something like
yeah. So I think down the end, I think it's going to be you're going to have you're going to obviously have your top 4 teams. Like I said, we're pretty separated out from the bottom 4, but that's also because there's been delays. Dallas has only played 21 games compared to other teams that have played 27, 28. So it's going to be a lot of catching up at the end of the season too for games being made up. So you could see a lot closer games towards the end of the season, and as long as everything stays consistent, I mean, I think it's going to be overall. I think it's going to be a really good season, just for hockey in general, and then obviously the hockey got that extension for ESPN starting next year, right? I believe next year, if I'm not mistaken. I
that. Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So that's
what do you
pretty
think?
cool.
What do you think about ESPN having to finally acknowledge that hockey is a thing that exists?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that we're talking about LeBron James on ice skates or something because that seems to be all they ever talk about if I turn
Dak
ESPN
Prescott,
on. So now,
playing for the Stars.
yeah, and I hate the NBA. So
Oh,
I could
come
care
on,
less
man.
about
Come on, man.
I could care less about
Come on, man.
that. But yeah, no, it's good for the sport, man. It is good for the sport. Hockey needs more recognition. Hockey playoffs are probably my favorite playoffs overall. I think it's the 7-game series, even the 5-game series. Yeah. It's really good stuff, man. It gets chippy. I know me and you were talking this week about how Fox used to have the the light around the puck, and the heat when you did a slap shot, the heat, you'd see the heat marker, and I think that'd be really cool for ESPN to bring that back
Sure.
because I think it would gain some fans. Some sometimes my wife's like, I can't even see the puck, you know? So I know people do lose sight of the puck.
Yeah.
I know that is a thing for some people. So, you know, just it's cool. It's good for the sport. I'm always for pro hockey. So I think, you know, we talked about that, bringing something like that in would be cool just to kind of, you know, just to throw it in there, something different, you know, see something different. ESPN's trying it out, so or bringing them back, I should say. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy for it. It's good for the sport, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. And hopefully, there's some good commentators on there.
Absolutely, man. The only thing I had left is maybe to kind of go over to kind of switch gears and talk about baseball. But with spring training, you know, wins and losses absolutely do not matter. It really is more of kind of, you know, how are you seeing the team as it's going. And so, I mean, in terms of the big questions that we brought up a week ago, there hasn't been a lot of definitive, because you're still a month away, like from opening day. So there's really not a lot of answers. But in terms of some of the baseball things, you know, you're looking at guys like Michael Wacha is really having a pretty good spring so far. And so I think it's a little bit of that kind of new place magic that's going on. I mean, over the last week, you know, Wander Franco had a pretty good game against Boston. Mike Brasso had a home run against Boston, but you know, Austin Meadows is looking pretty good. He hit a homer the other day. G-Man Choi finally had the bat against Minnesota. He went 2 for 3 and had a walk, so we got on base 3 times. But really still the big question about, you know, getting the rust off and getting those bats moving. I mean, I guess you could also say, you know, Kevin Kiermaier's back, finally. He's had some hip issues, but he's finally back. He played against Minnesota the other day and went 1 for 2. And really just getting good pitching out of that rotation. You know, another question mark is who's going to fill in, not necessarily quote-unquote replace, but fill in that rotation when it comes to, you know, the Wachas and Rich Hill. And you get a guy like Tyler Glasnow, who just the other day goes 4 innings, only gives up 1 hit, has 7 strikeouts and 1 walk. I mean, it's phenomenal. You look at that performance, and that's a spring performance that you can go, okay, they might not be the same, but they're going to be pretty good as long as they can keep that depth. So, but then in that same game, Tyler Glasnow goes crazy on the mound, but the offense only has 3 hits the whole game total. So it's.
That's one of those things, yeah. The offense has got to, yeah. I get what you're saying about the offense for sure.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, you know, a lot of the questions won't be answered until we get into the middle of the season, and we get spring training over, and we're now the first month or two we start really checking in. Like, okay, now we have trends. Now we have real, live, actual, like top level competition, because some guy hits a home run in the 8th inning of a game where everyone's wearing very high numbers. They look like they're hockey players with 99s and 75s and stuff like that, right? They look like linemen with these gigantic numbers. So you really can't extrapolate much out of any of that other than to say, oh, okay, that'll be a good minor league player against other minor league players. So, you know, we're still wanting to answer some questions on the baseball. So I didn't want to take up a lot of time talking about the Rays, just because there's not a lot. There's a lot going on, but not a lot of definitive answers. But as we creep closer and closer, and these guys start pitching more than 1 inning, the batters are going 3-4 times up at bat before being taken out for the minor leaguers. When we start getting to that level, that's when I think we'll be able to really dig in and say, well, we don't know for sure, but we think this is where it's heading. So, with that said, though, another great week, another great show, guys. We talked about our Bucs, we talked about the Lightning, and we'll go deeper into the Rays as spring training ends. But all in all, it's still an exciting time to be a Tampa Bay sports fan. And with that said, we'll get some final thoughts, and then we will get out of here. Musab, I'll start with you, man. Any last thoughts about all the awesome things here in Tampa Bay?
Just for all my Tampa Bay or AKA Tampa Bay sports fans, keep enjoying the moment. No matter whether it's now or 3 months from now, it doesn't matter. We are the championship city, and I'm also just praying for the best for my Lightning, hoping for the best in regards to the Bucs free agency. And, I got a little side excitement for our Rays upcoming season. That should be fun as well. So I am ready for another jam-packed, fun, exciting, intense year of Tampa Bay sports. And I am also excited to be talking with you all here at RBLR.
Absolutely, man. Now, Chris, you might not be excited to go to the Toronto Raptors games that are opening back up.
I thought about going to one, man. I thought
man.
about it, and I really did. I was gonna give it a try.
My Denver Nuggets are in town shortly, but then, like you were saying, you look at the tickets. It's $100 to get 2 tickets to sit up at the top of the rafters. So
right, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's already kind of a risk to go out and do that anyway, and then on top of that, the wife might not like me spending $100 on Raptors tickets. So
no.
Well, but Chris, all that aside, man, final thoughts from you as we get out of here, man.
Overall, man, just good show. Glad to talk some Lightning hockey. I'm glad that the schedule's getting a little more consistent now. It's nice to have something to actually talk about, not have to go 10 days without having games. And like I said, I'm glad the Bucs were able to get Godwin back and Levante. That was a big signing. I think the kicker is obviously important too, because talked about those kicking woes before. So I'm glad for the Bucs for that. And like you said, spring training's here, and it never stops. You're right, man. It's good to talk sports, and I'm glad we're in the city we're in, and I'm glad we have the teams we do. So just looking forward to next week, and I want to say thanks to all the fans and the followers and everyone who's listening to us. We really appreciate it.
All right, and finally, Mikey, any last thoughts for us for the week, man? Get us out of here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to dig into free agency next week. I'm gonna start doing my homework, seeing who's out there, who's available. It's been a fun week this week talking about the offense and all the great stuff that we have to look forward to with the offense, man. So I'm just excited, man, and thanks for having us, all the listeners. Thanks for listening, and go Bucs.
All right, and if there's one last thing to say, it's that we thank all of you for following us on all forms of social media. People are liking. I've been posting these cool little graphics about when the Lightning are playing and when they're done. We'll continue that with the Rays and the Rowdies as they're gearing up for preseason soccer now. So. With all that, you can get in on the action. We are at RBLR Sports on all forms of social media. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. You name it, we're there, man. And so if you could just follow us, like us, give us a comment, man. Ask your questions, interact with us, man. We are all about that. Another way you can interact with us is our voicemail line. That's 813-778-5280. That's 813-778-5280. Leave us a voicemail under a minute. That way we listen to them, and we kind of take your questions into account on what we ask here on the show. And at the very last thing that I'll beg you for is wherever you're listening to us, if you're on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Stitcher, if you're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're hearing my voice right now, there's a like button, there's a subscribe button. Hit both of them. Get notified when we put all of these up. Be the first people to know that your coverage is in your inbox, ready for you when you want to listen to it. So other than that, guys, another fantastic week of Tampa Bay sports and a lot to get excited about for the future. So for Musab, for Mikey, for Chris, for all the guys here, we say thank you, and we will check you next week. Good night, guys.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.